Do you ever feel like you're juggling 100 things at once? Your business, your goals, your life, and somehow it's never enough. Hello friends, my name is Leo. Welcome and welcome back to my channel where I transform business strategies into practical tools for leadership and personal growth, helping you creating a system that actually works. Before you can create a plan for success, you need a clear direction. Everything starts with a vision and a goal, or maybe a few. But here's the thing, not all goals are created equal. And how you set them makes all the difference between achieving them or watching them fade away. We all been there, setting goals, feeling super motivated at first, and then life happens. It's frustrating, no? And here's the truth. It's not about motivation or willpower. The real issue is that most goals fail because they're too vague, lack structure, or don't adapt when things change. That's where smarter goal setting comes in. It's a proven framework that helps you set goals that are clear, adaptable, and achievable so that you can stay on track no matter what. So if you're ready to set goals that go beyond wishful thinking and build a system that drives real progress, then keep watching. By the end of this video, you know exactly how to set smarter goals and set a strategy to take control, channel your energy, and achieve them without burning out. So let's dive in. The first element is specific. Clarity is everything. Think of setting a goal like using Google Maps. You wouldn't just say, I want to go somewhere nice and expect to arrive at the right place. You need a clear destination, a reason for going, and a plan to get there. So goals work the same way. The more specific you are, the easier it is to take action and actually make progress. A specific goal should answer 3 key questions. What needs to be done? Why does it matter? And who is responsible for making it happen? Well, in this case, it's you. Now let's have a look at how the same principle applies in a business context. Imagine you are an entrepreneur just starting out to build your social media presence as a part of your marketing and branding strategy for your rental apartment business. Instead of a vague goal like I want to post more on social media, here's how you could make it more specific. I will develop and launch a social media strategy for my rental business by posting 3 high quality content pieces per week on Instagram and Facebook, focusing on apartment tours, guest testimonials, and travel tips to attract potential renters. And just a reminder, these platforms are just examples. The best platform for you depends on your industry, and if you are a B2B or professional services, you might focus more on LinkedIn, and if you're targeting travelers and young renters, Instagram might work best. So choose the platform that aligns with your audience and business goals. So this goals is clear, structured, and purpose-driven. It tells you exactly what needs to be done, why it matters, and how you execute it. Let me share a personal example. I'm taking my Spanish learning journey. For years, I kept telling myself that I want to improve my Spanish. So back in Vietnam, I studied Spanish on and off for a few years, and I already reached to B1 level. And I could easily, get by in daily conversation. But when I moved to Spain, I quickly realized that B1 wasn't enough to live confidently. Sure, I could order food at a restaurant and ask for direction, but when it came to serious matters like understanding a housing contract, dealing with hospital visit, or handling official paperwork, that was a different story. And that once I recognized that the real issue was I was reading from textbook, but I lacked real life interaction. So this year, I'm taking a different approach. Instead of just saying I want to be fluent in Spanish, I set a specific and structured goal like this. I will reach C1 level in Spanish by the end of my traineeship in Spain by practicing daily, taking free classes at the office, reading Spanish book, and listening to more Spanish podcasts. Now I have a clear target, structured plan, and a reason for achieving it. Your goals need to be measurable. If you can't measure it, you can't track it. And if you can't track it, How will you know if you're making progress? So let's take a look at a very simple example. Instead of saying, I want to read more this year, you can make it more achievable or more measurable by setting clear milestones. For example, reading 2 books per month or spending 30 minutes a day reading, or completing 8 books by the end of June. See how this shift from goal being so vague to something that you can actually track? Now let's take a look at the business example, branding, measuring your personal growth on social media, on LinkedIn. So if you are building your brand, instead of vaguely saying, I want to grow my presence online, you can track it like this. Posting 2 LinkedIn posts per week, growing my LinkedIn network by 50 relevant connections per month, engaging with at least 5 people in my industry every day. And remember, what gets measured gets achieved. To stay on track, I use a few simple tools to measure my progress. Depending on your personal goals or business needs, here are some options you can try. So, for example, for my Spanish learning and my workout, I just use, like simple digital, physical calendar. So I mark everything in here. So whenever I get things done, I just like put a tick. So this is how I can measure everything. And also like on, by reading, before I start reading a book, I just put on a note of like the time I start and then the time I finish. And then I will record, like how many minutes or how many hours that I spend on reading that day. So by the end of the week, I can track my progress. For business and branding goals, so you can use Trello or Notion. I also use LinkedIn Analytics to monitor engagements, follow growth, etc. I also create a Gantt chart on Google Sheets, and I put everything in there so I can actually see my progress. Before we continue, if you're finding this video helpful so far, take a second to hit that like button, and it really helps more people to find this content. And if you want more video on business strategies, productivity tools, and tips on applying them for leadership and personal growth, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Achievable, finding the right balance. Why setting ambitious goals is important, they also need to be achievable. If a goal feels impossible, it can lead to frustration and burnout. But if it's too easy, you might lose motivation and feel unchallenged. So, how do you find the right balance? You can start by asking yourself, what resources and tools do I already have? What additional support might I need? Am I in the right environment to achieve this goal? So, going back to my personal example, my Spanish learning goal. At first, I thought I'll reach my C1 fluency in 3 months, but realistically, that would have been too ambitious. So I needed time to absorb the language properly. So instead, I made my goal challenging yet achievable. So giving myself 9 months to reach C1 level using structured learning with free Spanish classes at the office, daily reading, and listening to Spanish podcasts. And you know what? One big advantage now that I live in Spain, where I hear and I see Spanish everywhere every day, and this immersive environment makes my goal much more achievable compared to if I were still in Vietnam. Now, let's talk about business goals. A lot of entrepreneurs set content goals that sound great in theory, but quickly lead to burnout. For example, saying I'll post on social media every day for my business. It might sound productive, but is it actually realistic? If you're managing everything alone, probably not. So instead, let's make it more achievable but still effective. I will develop and launch a social media strategy for my rental business by posting 3 high quality content pieces per week on Instagram or Facebook, focusing on apartment tours, guest testimonials, or travel tips to attract potential renters. So this goal is challenging enough to make a real impact, like by posting consistently, and it's realistic within the available time and resources. Instead of posting every day, now you post 3 times per week, so it's more reasonable. And this goals has a clear structure. You know exactly what type of content to create. Let's talk about my favorite part of the smarter framework, relevance. Relevance is about making sure your goals fit into the bigger picture of your life. They're not just random ideas, they should connect to your values, priorities, and where you want to go in the long run. So, to a lot of other professionals, the R stand for realistic. But to me, I think relevance is way more important. Why? Because achievability already covers what realistic. So, relevance, on the other hand, makes you stop and ask yourself the deeper questions. Why did I set this goal in the first place? And how does it fit into my long term vision? So, for me, this is what keeps me grounded. Whenever I feel stuck or start to doubt myself, I come back to these questions. And let's be real, whenever we start in something new, it's easy to feel lost. I can't count how many times I thought to myself, what am I even doing here? But here's the thing, reminding yourself why you started in the first place can be a game changer. It gives you clarity and helps you stay focused. Let's say you're building your personal brand on LinkedIn. If you don't know why you're doing it, it will start to feel like just another time consuming task. But if you tie it to your bigger goals, everything changes. For example, I want to establish my expertise and build credibility in my industry so I can attract new clients, create more opportunities, and open doors for future collaborations. So, now, personal branding isn't just about posting for the sake of posting, it's about strategic positioning for long term growth. For example, I'm not just learning Spanish for fun, even though I truly enjoy learning languages. Learning Spanish fits into my bigger life and career goals. It's helped me integrate better while living in Spain. It improves my communication at work where Spanish is commonly spoken, and it supports my long-term goal of working in international role. So whenever I lose motivation, I remind myself of these questions, and that keep me going. So now let's apply this to business. Running a rental business and working on your social media strategy. You're not just posting about apartment photos, you're building trust with potential renters. You are creating a brand identity that makes your property stand out. You are positioning your business for higher occupancy rates and long term success. When your goals are relevant, they stop feeling like just another chore. They tie to something bigger, something that really, really matters to you, and that's what keeps you motivated when things get tough. So, here what I want you to do next. The next time when you set a goal, ask yourself, why am I setting this goal? Will achieving this goal help me now or in the future? Does it align with what's most important to me? Because when you are connected to your why, staying on track becomes a whole lot easier. Setting a clear deadline for your goals is so important because it creates a sense of urgency and gives you the push you need to take action. Without a deadline, your goals can easily drift into that dreaded someday zone where nothing really gets done. But when you attach a time-bound element, you're setting a clear target, holding yourself accountable, and making your goal feel real. So, taking my Spanish goal for example, I set 3 major milestones to keep myself accountable and ensure steady progress. The first one would be completing my B2 course by the end of March 2025, completing my C1 course by May 2025, and by July, I will be sitting for the daily exam. So instead of vaguely saying I will improve my Spanish someday, now I have a clear roadmap with clear checkpoints to guide my progress and keep me motivated. Deadlines aren't about pressure, they are about direction. They help you prioritize, manage your time effectively, and take steady steps forward even when life gets busy. By setting deadlines and breaking the goal into smaller, manageable chunks, you stay motivated and avoid feeling overwhelmed. Plus, you get to celebrate each milestone because progress isn't just about the final result, it's about every step forward. So now I want to hear from you. What's the goal that you set that lacked a deadline and how did it affect your progress? Or perhaps you experienced the power of well-set deadline. Share the story in the comment below. I'd love to hear it. Setting a goal is not a set it and forget it process. You need to check in regularly and adjust as needed. Because sticking to a goal isn't just about doing the work, it's about figuring out the best way to do it for you. So that's why evaluation is key. It helps you spot the patterns, track your progress, and also fine tunes your approach. So back to my Spanish learning journey, for example. So every Sunday, I would check in with myself and ask, did I complete my 10 hours of study this week? What areas am I improving? For example, like listening, speaking, or grammar. Or perhaps where am I struggling the most and how can I adjust? I realized that studying at night wasn't effective for me at all. I was too tired to absorb information, so I shifted my schedule to morning study section instead. I also noticed that I was spending too much time on reading, but not enough on speaking practice. So I adjusted by adding more conversation sections at work, for example. In a business context, for a social media strategy, regular evaluation is key. Otherwise, you're just posting blindly without knowing what's working. And here's how you should track which content is performing best, what engagement rate am I seeing, or do I need to adjust my posting schedule or content type? Perhaps you notice that apartment tour videos get higher engagement than static photo, so you might want to shift your focus to more video content creation, for example. Or perhaps your engagement drops on certain days, so you might want to test our new posting schedule to see when your audience is most active. We have arrived to the last element, readjust. Staying flexible and adapting to change. Because no matter how well you plan, life happens. The key here is to adapt and stay flexible instead of giving up. Here's my system for readjusting when things don't go as planned. Reschedule, but don't remove. For example, if I have an early work meeting and I can't study in the morning, I move my study time to lunch break or after work. So that way, I still get my hours in without breaking the momentum. And the next one would be prioritize efficiency over duration. So if I'm extra busy, I focus on high impact study techniques like active recall and speaking practices so that even with less time, I'm still making solid progress. And always have a fallback plan. For example, if I miss a weekday study section, I will catch up on Sundays where I already dedicated extra time for studying. This keeps me on track without being stressed. And another example in a business context. So if your apartment tour videos aren't getting views, you might want to switch to shorter, high energy clips with captions to grab attention. Or perhaps you notice that most inquiries come after posting about your neighborhood guys. You want to focus more on local area contents to attract renters. So by tracking performance and making adjustment, you create a strategy that actually works rather than just hoping for a result. Your schedule, energy levels, and commitments will change over time. So that's why you have to stay flexible. Readjusting isn't about giving up, it's about finding what works. It's about recognizing when to push forward and when to pivot. Because sticking to a rigid plan that no longer serves you is a recipe for frustration. So, what makes a goal smarter? It's all about making your goals specific, meaning your goal should be crystal clear, measurable. That means you need to have a system in place so that you can track your progress. Achievable. You can stretch yourself but be realistic. Relevant. Making sure that all your goals are aligned with your bigger picture. Time bound. Set deadlines and avoid procrastination. Evaluate. Regular checks in so that you can stay on track. Readjust. Because unexpected circumstances may arise, so stay flexible. I would like to share with you some very frequent asked questions. Most people would ask, how do I start? But instead of worrying about that, I would encourage you just start and focus on, like finding the ways how to improve as you go. Because you won't have the perfect plan for, from day one, and that's okay. The key here is to get started, evaluate, learn, and, improve your approach along the way. This leads me to something so important. You have to test different approaches to see what works best. You can't just, set a goal and expect the first method to be perfect. Before you go, thank you so much for spending time with me, and I love to hear from you. Which part of the smarter goal setting do you struggle with the most? Drop a comment below and let's have a chat. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like button. It really helps this video reach more people. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a content from me on personal growth, business strategies, and productivity. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay focused and stay smarter.